Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the April meeting. Now, we've got a couple of Dobinson's guys down there. Who here has Dobinson suspension in their car? We've got a few in the room. Okay, lots of sensible people out there. I got it in the wide circuit. It works fantastic. They're going to tell you how their product is better than everyone else's coming up. No, it's a great company, and I can vouch for it personally. So we'll have Chris up soon, and he'll be able to tell you all about it. President's report. I'm still recovering from the 50th. Anyone else? It was actually a great weekend. And like I say, a tribute to everyone. We've got a few things coming up. We have, as well as our special guest tonight, which will be absolutely fantastic, we have a proposition for the membership. Okay. But I'll be dealing with that during general business. And other than that, everything seems to be ticking along nicely, to be quite honest with you, which is fantastic. We don't have any little fires to put out or anything. Everything seems to be moving along smoothly, which is great. Now, like I said before, we have some very special guests here tonight from Dobinson's. I'd like to welcome Chris to the podium, and he'll tell you all about suspensions in your four-wheel drive. Thanks, Chris, and welcome.
Firstly, thank you very much for welcoming us here tonight and inviting us. My name is Chris Kelly. I'm the State Manager for Dobinson Springs and Suspension, and I have my colleague here, Michael, and it's wonderful to be here tonight. What I thought we'd do is just glance over the history of the company and our foundations and where we begun. It is quite a fascinating story, and hopefully you find it interesting. After that, I'm just going to go into quickly just the products that we do, how we make the products without getting too technical. All right, so this is our head office. Now, our head office is in Rockhampton in Queensland. Now, the family, the Dobinsons, we are a third generation company now. The Dobinsons family started and still run, and most likely forever will still run the company. They're very, very proud of their beginnings and where they are right now. So the company was founded in 1953 by a gentleman by the name of Reg Dobinson. Now, Reg was an apprentice boilermaker for Queensland Rail, and he had a little bit of a reputation for being able to make a good leaf spring. Word got out pretty quickly, and Reg found himself doing, the Great Australian Cashy on the weekend. Got quite busy, was very well known. So Reg thought, well, why don't we give this a go? So he purchased an old World War II factory in Rockhampton and started Dobinson's Welding Works. Now, as I said, he got very, very busy, and Reg was very good at what he was doing. He's a very good blacksmith. So he thought, well, we're going to give this a good run. At the same time, when Reg was making leaf springs, he decided that he needed a better and faster way of doing it. So he envisaged a machine that would roll the eye of the leaf spring. Now, post-World War II, things were not really accessible. Reg worked out that there's some old Spitfire warplanes lying around Rockhampton. What if he could rob some bits and pieces off that? And he did, and he made a prototype and made this machine that we see right there. And that machine rolls the eye of the leaf spring. The prototype was quite successful, and the world got wind of it, and Reg all of a sudden had it painted and was selling it to the world. People were buying this machine from England, from Italy, all to speed things up. Now, Reg had a couple of boys that were also very interested in the business as well. So we've got Glenn. Glenn is on the right-hand side of Reg there in the middle, and we've got Keith. You could see that they were sitting there with some of their leaf springs that they made. Now, Reg grew on a little bit, so the boys came up and thought they'd take over the business. They ended up buying the business off Reg, and they started manufacturing leaf springs, basically for the trucking industry. They got quite well known there as well, and they started to branch out and started to deal internationally. Yep. And as you can see, so these are some of the early leaf springs that they made, predominantly for trucks. They were very big in the trucking industry. But what happened then is trucks moved to having airbag suspension. So we had to think outside of the box once more. There's some more leaf springs that we do. Yep. We were buying coil springs from other manufacturers, and we thought, well, this is no good. So if we can do what we've done today, then why can't we manufacture them ourselves? So we did. Fast forward now to third generation. There's now 5 of the children running the company. We have expanded the company now to 4.5 acres worth of factories and manufacturing in Rockhampton still. We're exporting to 85 countries, 5 locations. So we've got a branch in Melbourne, obviously, Brisbane, Sydney, Adelaide, and we've got a good distributor in WA. We've also got Dobinson's own stores in Dubai, Florida, and there's another one in South America somewhere, I can't remember. Yeah. Yep. The next progressive step was to get into shock absorbers. So we started making our own shock absorbers. Now, what I'm going to do now, I'm just going to go through the types of shock absorbers that we offer, not get too technical, but I'm just going to go into their function, their form, and how they work rather quickly. This is a twin tube shock absorber. This shock absorber is found on 95% of vehicles. It's what your car had when it came out. It's the cheapest and easiest to manufacture. The way it works is it has 2 tubes. Oil passes through the foot valve and back up the side where the gas chamber is. It's a very good shock absorber, but it has its limitations. The limitations is it gets hot. Once the oil heats up, it cavitates and it fades. So then we brought in the monotube shock absorber. The monotube is completely full of oil. It has less chance of fading, less chance of cavitation, and it's great for those corrugated roads that we all love to explore. Yep. Then we've got one step above as well, which is the monotube remote reservoir. This shock absorber is adjustable in the valving. What that means is we can go soft, we can go medium, we can go hard, we can dial it in just like a race car to exactly what we require at any given moment. So if you're going on a long desert trip, you can dial it in for that. If you're just using it around town, you can back it off and dial it in for asphalt roads. Yep. As I said, we manufacture our own products, still in Rockhampton. So what we're going to do right now, we're just going to through a really quick process of how we manufacture coil springs. What you're seeing just there is a furnace. So we have the wire, which is the coil wire, which goes into the furnace at 1400 degrees Celsius. And then it moves on to what we call a mandrel, where it's hot wound on the mandrel. Now that's computer controlled. We've dialed in exactly what we need. We have over 20,000 part numbers. We dial in the part number that's preloaded in the computer, and the computer winds it to that. Just a quick video here of the process. As you can see, the wires rolling onto the mandrel. I think this might even be a Land Cruiser front spring by the looks of it. Goes into the quenching, where it puts some strength back into the coil. And then we have shot peening, which puts some more strength back into the coil. A gentleman asked me here before, why do coil springs break? It's because they're not strong enough, basically. We have 4 different processes that coil spring goes through to put that strength back into the metal. And then what we do is we call what's called scragging. So we get the coil and we press it down until it's bound up completely, and then release the pressure and measure that coil. If that coil is exactly what we need it to be, then it's a good coil. It's right to go. If it's not, it goes in the bin. We start again. And then we go through powder coating. Now, our powder coating factory runs the whole length of our factory. If you look above in our factory, there's just coils going left, right, and center, going all through the powder coating line. The problem with this process is it's very labor intensive. A good person can make about 350 coils a day. That's it. Staff are very hard to find in Rockhampton, and it's, excuse my language, terribly hot. Now, we've got 32-degree days with 100% humidity in front of a 1400-degree furnace. No, thank you. Not at all. So we started to look, okay, what do we need to do to meet the demand as the company grows? So we became the first company in the Southern Hemisphere to invest in a cold winding machine. What that does, it winds the coil without any heat. So like I said, 350 coils a day we can make hot. It's about a 2-minute video here, but just see if you can go through it. Now, we invested $1.75 million into this machine. The first people in the Southern Hemisphere to have it. Just have a look at what it can do. The thickness of that wire that you're seeing there is probably about 24 millimeters. So the fact that the machine can just punch it off like that, it's fairly impressive. So the wire comes in, the wire comes in coils, that if the coil were to unravel, it would reach out for 2 kilometers. So that's fed into the machine. The machine pushes it through up against the mandrel there, and it doesn't actually coil it, it bends it around, and then the rollers form it into what we want. And that is also pre-programmed in, so we can do one car, and then another car, then another car. Now I won't play the complete video because it goes for 2 minutes, but I did count how many coils that machine made in 2 minutes, and it was 15 coils. But we can make about 1,750 coils a day just out of that one machine. And that helps us meet the demand that our customers need and require. Quite a different process for that. It's not so labor intensive. So the coil goes through the machine, and then it's heated up again to 400 degrees, and then it's shot peened, and then it's scragged, and then it's powder coated, and it goes out with a different makeup to the steel. It's more aluminium in that steel. So, yeah. So that's the process of how Dobinsons make their products, basically. Now, that's all well and good, but what the most important thing is the questions as a company that we ask our customers. And now what I've found after being in this industry for over 30 years is when the customer comes in to see someone, they're not being asked the correct questions. They're being given a product or a solution that is not particularly right for their needs. So we ask the following questions. What do you use the vehicle for? That's the most important thing to ask. What person A used the vehicle for is completely different to person B and person C. What accessories do you have on the vehicle? Because that determines what parts we use. How much weight do you carry 90% of the time? Quite often in this industry, we'll have people say, well, I need a 500 kilo spring. Okay, why do you need that? Because I go camping every Easter. So what are you going to do the other 90% of the time when you don't have 500 kilos on there? And they get a vehicle that rides too hard. So what I'm trying to say is we try and set the vehicle up for the customer right the first time. And they get the enjoyment out of it. And the feedback from our customers is it's set up right, it's set up reliably, and we can use it for what we want to use it for. And the next most important question is, what do you want the vehicle to do in the future? What are your plans? And we'll try and factor that into it as well. We find that when we ask these questions, we can give our customers the right kit at the right time, and we'll see them again in 1,000 Ks for an initial check over. And to be honest, the next time we see our customers is when they buy a new vehicle. And that's the way we like to do it. So what I'll do right now, I'll just open for a few questions if you like. See if there's any questions from the people in the room or there's any questions from anyone online. Yeah, certainly. Shot peening is basically sandblasting the piece of metal with a ballast material that changes the molecular strength of the steel and brings it back into what we need it to be again. Scragging is when the coil is this high, and then we put it in a hydraulic press and we push it down again until the coils are what we call binding. They're bound up. Then we release that pressure and we check the height, make sure the height is within spec. If a coil's no good, it's going to fail at the scragging time. Yeah. Sure. Do we want to talk about GBMs? A little, not too much. Okay. Part of my role at Dobbins is I'm the GBM engineer. So I engineer the programs from start to finish. When the 300 series came out, I had a vehicle. I drove it for 9 hours, assessed it, and then did all the testing program, all the submission, worked out what our customers want, what we think they're going to need, and then we have a kit that we supply to market if it's approved by the government, which it will be. So do we do GBMs? That's the question. Yeah, we do. But we don't do GBMs on every vehicle. We want to do the GBMs on the vehicles that we're going to get a return on, basically. At the end of the day, it is business, but yeah. So we focus our GBMs on the popular ones. The Toyota, the whole suite of the 70 series, the Hilux, the Land Cruisers. Now we go into the Rangers, that sort of thing. But we do our GVMs differently to other companies do it, where the 3 shock absorbers that you've seen, you can get those in our GVM kit. So if you've just got a work vehicle, you can get the twin tube shocks. If you've got a touring vehicle, we'll set you up with our monotube. If you want all the bells and whistles, we'll set you up with our remote res. So we can give you options. So a gentleman asked me before, was concerned about getting a high GVM upgrade because he didn't want it to ride hard. We have solutions where the vehicle doesn't have to be oversprung, so it's not going to ride hard.
We have a question online. Looking at upgrading springs, sorry, this is from Lee Burns. Looking at upgrading springs on the rear suspension of the hundreds. I have 200 kilograms 80M spare payload, which I'll be maxing out in future with a rear dual tyre carrier. Am I better off having a heavier coil ride-off or adding airbags instead?
That was Lee, was it? Yeah, good question, Lee. It's a little bit of a balancing act when, we're going to ask you, okay, when are you going to put the rear bar on? But the thing is, the rear bar weighs 80 kilos, but when it's on the vehicle, because it's so far back from the axle, it actually weighs, you can times that by about 1.5 with leverage ratios. I won't get too technical with it. Simple question is, if you're going to do the rear bar soon, upgrade the rear springs. If you're not going to do it or you don't know when you're going to do it, maybe some airbags might be a good option, but we always like to get the spring to do the work, and the airbags are a helper. They're an assist. Airbags are not a final solution. Some people use airbags for a final solution, and that's when you hear the horror stories out there. We don't offer airbags in that capacity. Yes, we sell airbags, but always with a spring upgrade as well. Miss Gary?
Okay, I had an 80 series at one time, and I got progressive rate coils put on the rear. So do you make those as well, or what do you think of them?
We do, yeah. I'll just do a quick explanation what a progressive rate coil is, sorry. If you looked at the coil springs in the videos there, they're quite what we call linear. It has the same distance between the windings throughout the coil. Progressive is closer up top, and then it gets further down the bottom. Now, what that is designed to do is, when the vehicle's unladen, it's using the comfortable part of the coil. When the vehicle's laden, it's using the heavier part of the coil. So yes, we do it with progressive spring, yes.
Yeah, they work pretty well for me.
Yeah, they're good in the right application. Toyotas have always been, the Land Cruiser's always been exceptional with a progressive rate coil in the back. Real good.
I've got a quick question. Monotube versus remote res. Sure. At what stage should you be progressively looking from the monotube to a remote res for a touring vehicle?
Absolutely. 2 reasons. If you want the adjustability, first reason, you want to be able to adjust the valving between soft, hard. Our monotube shock is not like anything else on the market, where it actually has 3 stages of adjustment: high speed, low speed, and it's got some rebound as well, which is another whole story. But so if you were to tell me that I'm going on a lot of desert trips, I'm going to do a lot of corrugated roads, monotube is probably a good idea. The remote res is probably a good idea. It's got the extra oil capacity in it, in the reservoir, and it's way less. Yeah.
Sorry, less likely to fade.
Yeah. More oil means less likely to fade.
Okay.
That's right. The way a monotube works is as well, it's got a floating piston inside, and there's a nitrogen gas pressure behind that. So if the shock does start to fade, it pushes the air straight out again. Yeah.
Beauty. Thanks very much. Does anyone else have another question? Oh, you most certainly can, Gary, but you're second in line. I hate to break it to you, mate. So, sorry, could I just pop through here? No, probably not.
Chris, I wonder what the warranty is on your springs and shockers.
Sure. Our warranty is 2-year, unlimited kilometres. So if you can do 1 million kilometres in 2 years, it's still under warranty.
Fantastic.
Okay, so would that be full replacement warranty or
Full replacement warranty.
what, parts and labour, would it, or what?
If it's done with us, it's labour as well, yep. With some of our monotube shocks that are all hand built, I did mention that before, they are repairable, they are rebuildable. So we'll make that decision whether we replace it or we repair the shock, depending on the failure.
Okay, so what stocks do you carry around Australia, say, for whatever somebody might have in their vehicle?
Yeah, sure. I had a customer who was in Alice Springs before I had a distributor in Alice Springs, and he had a failure. He had a replacement shock within 3 days in Alice Springs. We have branches all around Australia that carry a lot of stock. In Melbourne, I try now because of COVID. Before COVID, I was carrying probably maybe 6 weeks worth of stock. I'm now carrying 12 months worth of stock.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
Beauty, thanks very much. And if you get the experience like I have with the ones in the Zook, you won't need to call on the warranty.
Warranty is one of those things. At the end of the day, they're a man-made product. We don't have a 100% success rate. We have the occasional warranty. When I say occasional, one every few months, if that. So,
And being a 70 series owner, I know all about leaf springs. So can you explain to me what the difference is between normal leaves and parabolic leaves?
sure, absolutely, yep. A normal, what they call semi-ecliptic, so semi-ecliptic leaf spring, laminated leaf spring, has a number of leaf springs in the pack of the same thickness but varying lengths. And how that works is when the spring goes up and down through its thing, the leaf springs move against each other and they create friction, which oscillates and holds up your ride. When you've got a parabolic spring, you've got what is essentially a tapered leaf. So it may go from 12 mil down to 8 mil on the end, and there's a gap between as well. So you're using the stronger part of the steel when it's laden and the lighter part of the steel when it's unladen. So that motion transfers through the leaf. Parabolic springs are becoming more and more of a thing in commercial vehicles. They were originally truck technology, but they're out there. We have done some back-to-back testing, and the parabolic springs typically have the same rate as a semi-ecliptic spring. So they're very similar. Yeah. That answer your question? Cool.
Beauty, thanks very much. Anyone, we got a question down the back there?
Chris, I saw a DVD video on YouTube with Tim Bates.
Not me. It just won't go away, that thing, will it?
It was in regards to like the monoshocks and the resis
Yep.
refurbishment, because he had his refurbished.
He did, yeah.
So what's the lifespan? We've got them on ours. So what would the lifespan be?
It's a really good question, Chris. So your typical shock absorber, they say you should replace every 70,000 Ks. I think that's a little bit light on. I think our monotube shocks should probably be serviced, and I'll use the word service, about every 100,000 Ks. And what that service means is new oil, new seals. As long as the components are still in good order, then the shock can be right to go again. Usually a day. Yeah. A gas shock or a monotube? A monotube. It's about $180. 300 and about 340. Yeah. Yeah. So it's worth it. It's around, a little less than half the price.
Chris, would the monoshock oil be the same? Or the oil reserve, would that be the same?
Yes.
For length of time?
Yeah. As long as it doesn't need hoses and stuff like that, components.
Yes, we've got a few more on Q&A. David wants to know, what is your view on the parabolic springs? I think you've covered that one.
Just quickly, David, on that one. Parabolic springs have the same rating as a normal semi-ecliptic. I find a normal semi-ecliptic is to be, how do I term this? You will get a lot more time out of a semi-ecliptic spring than you will a parabolic.
Okay, Matt Lilly's also got a question. Can the remote res shocks be rebuilt when needed?
Yes, they can.
And we've got another one here from Stephen. Is there a difference in quality between hot and cold spring manufacturing process?
No difference in quality. No. Interesting thing is when we first started making the cold rolled springs, because we always like to do research and development. As I mentioned, when you do the cold roll, you have to do another 2 or 3 tempering jobs. We did the first one and we thought, okay, what's going to happen if we don't temper this spring? So we didn't temper it. We went out the next day and the spring was actually split in half. So it definitely needs that. Quality wise, no, there's no difference in quality. The cold rolled spring is actually lighter. So when it comes to unsprung weight, it is more favorable. Anything else? Cool. Thank you very much for your time.
Thanks very much, Chris. And also a bit of a quick announcement. Chris and Dobinson have become sponsors of the club. So thank you and welcome to the family.
What we find is grassroots clubs and organisations like yourself are the backbone of what we try and do as a company. So we're more than happy to support where we can, and we're thankful for the opportunity.
Thanks very much. Now you'll be hanging out for a while, Chris? Yep. Okay, so we have a quick announcement in regard to the raffle.
Today, all online. I'm going to get one of the boys here to put my phone number in. If you want some tickets online, please just message me and I'll be sure to organise it. Anyone else in the crowd that wants them, please come over. I've got a few left.
So now we have a video.
We have a big drive today. Plans have changed again. What's happening now is we will end up in Kingunya via Unadata track. We were going to Roxby Downs, but that's been changed because the road's still closed. We'll see how that goes. Catch up.
How's the water flow? Whoa!
Hi, Mum. What did you buy me for lunch, Nathan?
Sauce, lettuce, cheese, and a what did you buy? Here it is.
Movie.
There he is.
Morning. We just left Kingunya. We're on our way to Tarcoola and Googs. Hey.
as we came in, you saw the old travellers' cottages that down there. You see, a lot of these things are new here because, you know, when I was here, they just didn't exist.
Good. Morning, Dave. What day is it, mate?
It's Monday, it's a working day, and we're working on getting out of here and taking a day off.
Morning, Gary. How are you, mate?
Oh, very well. How about yourself?
Yeah, I'm good, thank you. What day is it today, mate?
Today's Monday.
Yeah.
And happy day off.
Very good. Morning, Monday. We're a week into the trek now. It was warm last night, in the mid-30s yesterday. We're on Googs. We're heading to Mount Fink. This tree was the original donation box.
Is this the money tree? That's
Correct.
the money
This
tree.
is the money tree. And we're heading into Sejuna, so we're on the final stretch of Googs track. We've got, still got dunes happening, and we've got plenty of corrugations, as usual. He did.
Charlie, as usual, keeping all the chickens in line. Awesome.
All right. Now, ladies and gents, obviously that was Warren and Anita Spriggs' Central Australian Outback Extravaganza. I've just nicknamed it, and no doubt edited by Steve McAdam. Okay, now moving on to subcommittee reports. First up, we have Chris Treble.
Good evening, everyone. Listen, we've had a great group of people through on the weekend up at Yark. Veronica ran the show for me on the weekend. There's a total of 15 people now that have qualified and undergone their DA course. I'd just like to make mention of their names. So we had Stephen Hollywood. Unfortunately, Susan suffered, she had some surgery on her foot, so she couldn't attend, his wife. We've also had on the weekend, last weekend, Dan and Mary Pekin, Paul Johnson, then we've had Danielle Mellis, Melanie Phillips, Luke Brady was also up there for the weekend, brother and sister Alexander and Joshua Bortolozzi. Unfortunately, Karen and Michael, they had issues with their vehicles, so they couldn't make it for the weekend. Paul Osborne and Paul and Susan Osborne, Gordon Dong and Jane Howe, and Lindsay Godding and Antonia Hodgman. So total of 15 new members through the gate again for the month of March, and we're actually on the jaunt again. The team go back up again at the end of this month for the April DA, which was running. We're now back on schedule with the end of the month arrangements that we've always had. So that'll be good. So there's another 15 that will be attending at the end of the month. That aside, so well done to all those people, and it was a good weekend. There was a bit of rain, but that's to be expected up at Yark. One of the things I just wanted to mention, if people are chasing for certificates of when they've actually undertaken their DA. So just to let you know where it is, I've made contact with Four Wheel Drive Victoria. Their records only go back to 2012. So if you've completed your DA and you're looking for a certificate before that, the only thing I can suggest is that you actually enlist again and come up and do a refresher course. Now, I've got enough new members that I'm trying to get through at the moment, but if people are interested in doing their refresher courses, by all means apply, and look, I'll fit it in where we can. But at the moment, we're getting the backlog out of the way. There's some people from last year that I don't think have come back, but we're well and truly underway. So it's the newer members. There's about 4 or 5 people that are chasing me at the moment, which is great. So we've got May well and truly underway, and we're booking into June. So things are promising. At least we're able to. There's a bit more comfort that people are coming back and participating and want to get their DA training out of the way. And I think it's good that they actually do it in the 1 month that I've been trying to promote, and that's working well. There's a couple of hiccups with it, but in general, it's a lot better than the outcomes that we had last year. But anyway, so as soon as if you're just a new member in the club and your vehicle is ready to go, I'm ready to listen to you. Just ring me up or send me an email and tell me, which some people have done, and I'll get back in contact with you, and we'll book you in as soon as we possibly can. Anyway, that's it, I think, Simon. Okay, thank you.
Okay, moving on. So next up, education.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to all the new members tonight. It's lovely to see you. My first thank you goes to Brad Schaefer, who ran the bush mechanics course recently. Unfortunately, we had a bushfire day, so we had to all move to the Molesworth caravan park. So therefore, we couldn't use the facilities that normally we would be able to use. But even with that disruption, everyone soldiered on, and not one participant chickened out. Well done to you all. My trip catering camping course was interesting. I had a lot of people that cancelled beforehand, but I had 2 very stoic ladies who stuck with me, at least to do the theory. Unfortunately, we couldn't do the camp cooking section of it because we weren't allowed to make a fire. And I'm really sad that I couldn't use the new fire pit at Yark that they very carefully made for me. but never mind, it'll come another time. And these two ladies were given a Viv Cook book, camping cookbook, because they stuck with me through just the theory. I'd also like to thank Viv Moon. Every time we've had a camp cooking course, she's been very generous in sending me books for the camp cooking as competition cook-off prizes. So thank you to her. Now her Outback and Travelers cooking books are now being combined, and you won't be able to buy them anymore printed. They now come on digital, and you can download them on your tablets and phones, etc. May we have the HEMA mapping course with Justin Gill. He is an expert in the HEMA HX2 navigator and HEMA products. He will cover things like the HEMA apps, trip planning, waypoints, topographical mapping, and lots more. So it will be a very interesting weekend. At the moment, we have about, I think, 30 people coming, so it's a big course. If you are particularly interested, put your name down on the waiting list, because quite often we'll get a couple of cancellations. So just see how we go. Chainsaw course, I'm still chasing up four-wheel drive Vic. I never get any replies from them, so I'm going to have to give them a bit of a shake-up. I am limited as to what times of the year I can do it, because they don't want it too wet, because it's dangerous for cutting wood, and we can't have it in the real summer season because of bushfires, so bear with me. We're talking about a wheel bearing course, possibly for ladies.
Not wheel bearing, general car maintenance.
Oh, what was it?
Did anyone meet Kayla at the 50th, my daughter? Number 3. Yes. Right. Long brown hair. Anyway, she said to me, what about running a maintenance course specifically for ladies? And I said, that's a heck of an idea. She says, well, I'll need a hand with it. So is there any interest in ladies? So basic maintenance. So we're talking about things like check your radiator fluid, maybe basic service, change a tyre, bits and pieces like that, specifically for the ladies.
Hands up, ladies, if
There'll
you're...
be a bit of interest in that sort of thing.
And if somebody online would, if they're interested, if they put their hand up or whatever it is that they do, chat or whatever it is, and let us know if they're interested.
Kayla will be asking me after this.
Also, we're yet to speak to David here about a tyre repair course. Yes. So we'll work out some dates with him on that. So anyway, that's about all for me tonight, and see you next month.
All right. Thanks very much, Liz. Now we have a very important person coming up, Viv and Trips. While we're all here, four-wheel driving.
Hi, everyone. Good to see you all. Sorry. Ooh, is that better? I'd like to thank all the trip leaders that ran trips for the 50th. I think everyone had a good time, and very pleasing for people to do that. Unfortunately, we don't have many trips running at the moment. We do have Colin still with his Western Australian trip. He's got vacancies on the first and third part, but his second part is full. And also Scotty Hamilton, even though it's not up yet, has put a trip forward to me, and I've sent it through for publication, and that'll be on the website shortly, so keep your eyes on that. And I know things are tight, petrol's dear, car repairs and maintenance is expensive, but if we can get some trips up, even day trips, just for the new members would be great. Okay, that's all. Thanks.
Beauty. Thanks very much, Viv. Okay. I haven't seen Helen or Grace tonight. Are Helen or Grace here? Are you hiding down there? Well, Gab, mate, look, you're not as beautiful as your wife, but you'll have to do tonight, mate. would you like... That beard's starting to look a bit impressive. So you can come down and tell us all about social if you like.
Okay, good evening, everyone, and thank you very much. I know I'm not as pretty as Grace, which is obvious. She's away. She sends her apologies. In the social, they've got a trip planned, and it's in the magazine, I believe, to the Holden Museum, and that will be a cracker. that will be a good stuff. So you look it up, put your name down and come along to enjoy it. And there will be more details as it comes to hand. Meanwhile, while I'm here, I'm looking after the uniform as well. So look at these beauties here. Come and buy one. We've got plenty of them, right? And now we've got a couple of people who actually ordered shirts, and I believe Grace has been in contact with them, and maybe one or two of them are here. So please come and see me if you got your order in. I've got them here for you to collect. All right. Anything else? Send a message to Grace. All right.
Oh, four-wheel drive Vic? No?
I just wanted to let everyone know that Four-Wheel Drive Vic are running a first aid course. So anyone that couldn't make it to the club's first aid course up at our property, they have another chance to go and do a first aid course. It's being run at St Simon's School in Roval, or the Wellness Centre at Roval, it's to be advised. 9 a.m. for 9:30 start. Cost is $120 for the first aid course, or $58 for CPR only. So you can go online through Four-Wheel Drive Vic and register yourself. And that's on Saturday, the 6th of May this year. And yeah, if anyone has any questions, please just come and ask me.
Beauty, thanks very much. Okay, now webmaster portfolio.
Evening all. So I'm speaking on behalf of Laurie. As you know, Laurie's recently had some surgery, so he's recuperating at the moment at home. He's actually online in the background, just keeping an eye on things, which is great. So we hope he had a speedy recovery. So from a webmaster's point of view, just a couple of things, just to call out again for assistance. Anyone who would like to get involved with some of the production that we do here to help out would be great. I'd like to thank Steve McAdam for coming along. He's helping out and learning about the audio. So that's another member. And there's another request. We're trying to print all the old magazines, and there's a printing company that is actually doing it. And Laurie has some details, but we need some volunteers to actually go down to scan the So if you don't mind standing in front of a photocopier and scanning some magazines, that'd be great. Just pass your name on to the webmaster, Laurie. That's it.
Okay, so moving on to TLCCV gathering, John Mills. Welcome, John.
So we are moving ahead. It's been slow, and this is the preparation time. There's lots of things to do. Michael's put together a communications thing that we can all use. We'll end up with our own in-house phone numbers, and so that we can talk to ourselves, and you guys can talk directly to us rather than going through personal emails. So that's a big start. We've also got a system where we've got an interactive file running where we can go on and we can update it as things change. And all the other members of the planning team or the task team can now look at that, see what's happening, and keep in touch with each other. We have got confirmation now of the showgrounds at Mansfield. That's been slow coming, and there's still some work to do with that one as well. So, but we are going to Mansfield, and we will have a good time. The dates are out there. Chris and Alison put out a very good flyer, which went to all the other states as well. We're not going to give them too much information yet because we're not ready to start taking bookings for another 12 months. So anyway, think about it. We're looking for volunteers, people to get involved. There are jobs now available because we have got teams definitely set up now who will be looking for people to help. So those of you who put your names in before, we will now be contacting you and asking you where you'd like to fit into the overall scheme. All right. Okay, thank you very much.
Okay, Alison William, can we bring up Alison onto screen for Geelong? Oh, there you are. G'day, how you going, mate?
Hello, everyone. Sorry I can't be there tonight. Cut a lot of firewood on the weekend, and I've got a bit of a sciatica problem, and sitting in the car for 4 hours wasn't a great thought. So thank goodness for Zoom. Love it tonight. Had a great guest speaker at the Geelong meeting. We had DXP fuel additives, and he was really interesting. Sold everybody some. So wait to hear. A few people have been using it for a while, since January. So hopefully you'll hear some good reports about it soon. and he's happy to come to the Melbourne meeting and talk to you and give you an example as well. Our next meeting is on Tuesday, the 2nd of May. Thanks, Simon.
Beauty. Thanks very much, Alison. Okay. Now, of course, next up we have Brian, Stewart, and Yark.
Evening, everyone. Okay. Our last maintenance and construction weekend held earlier this month. There were 23 members there, and this included six new members. And everyone was keen to have a great time. Gary and Richard, that's Gary with 2 R's, and Richard, they did the morning briefing and the safety talk before everyone set off on their tasks. There's plenty of grass to mow, under-track drains to clear, fallen trees over the tracks to be removed, as well as the regular monthly items. The lights on the path to the Memorial Garden were completed, thanks to Traco and his team. And Richard continues with his project of upgrading of photo displays in the Hilton. And it was a very rewarding weekend, I think. This coming weekend will also include tree planting. Some of these have been from seeds that have been gathered on the property and been taken home and nurtured by, some of the members in their own homes. There will be clearing of trees and repairs to the southern boundary. And this was noted last month when a couple of the new members sort of did the walk along the fence and just noted where the trees were and what needed repairing. So we'll be getting into that this coming weekend. Also, there's going to be an official opening of the Hilton to Birch Hut walk, with the steps and all of that sort of stuff that Eamon has been working on. And he's got a list of the people who helped him, and I believe that there are around 50 people who have been involved in that project over the time. Maybe a big part, maybe a small part, but they were involved in it. And it's always good to, when you get back up to Yark, to sort of look around and say, I was involved in that project. It's a good feeling. Other events that are currently being planned is a stargazing evening involved with the local land care group. Now, this is being organised for the Friday night of our maintenance weekend in May. That's a tentative booking at the moment. And this follows on from their recent visit for a night walk that they really enjoyed. It was good just having that group from local group up there, and we had a bit of a supper and a bit of a chat. That was great. And the wheels are also in motion for a member of the Land for Wildlife group to be at the Kids' Day in September and give us a bit of a talk on what they do and how that will involve us. And this may involve the kids helping to replace the Land for Wildlife signs, which are pretty dilapidated at the moment. And Alison has sort of been in touch with the mob, and they've got some signs for us. I'll bring them along so the kids can sort of put them up and make a little bit of a difference. We're also in the process of getting a quote to have a Bergen mulching machine sort of come in and clear along the access track as part of the requirements that we need to complete the permit that was issued for the multi-purpose building. So we've got a few items that are outstanding on that. So we're working our way through those. Yeah, that should just about bring everybody up to date on sort of where things are at as far as Yark goes. So we're looking forward to seeing plenty of people up there at the weekend. As Viv said, there aren't any trips running, so run a trip on your own up to Yark and join in. We can go for a drive. We can go for a drive around the property, do all sorts of things, make a really good weekend of it. Okay, so we'll see you up there.
All right, thanks very much, Brian.
So the weekend on the 25th, I think it was the 25th and 26th of March at Mount Beauty was an absolute success. The park itself, the caravan park, couldn't have done more for us. We basically took over the park. I think they probably had the biggest happy hours that they've ever seen on multiple nights. I was struck in terms of two things. And one of them was the number of older members, not necessarily in age, but people that we hadn't seen for years. The inevitable Graham and Barbara Wilson
so number one, he loved it. And it's pretty amazing that he founded the club 50 years ago and he was there for the 50th anniversary. We had a multitude of trips. The support of sponsors was amazing. I don't know, how many raffle prizes did we have for the free raffle? Yeah, countless. It must have been at least 3 dozen, and some of them were really good prizes. So the support of Toyo Tyres, Toyota and Terrain Tamer, who all attended the event, was amazing. ANRB and guests also gave us substantial prizes. So we had, a huge number of free raffle prizes with no tickets. And then we had the Flying Doctor raffle as well. And it's already been indicated how much we raised from that. I think we need to give some thanks to the subcommittee that organised it. What an excellent job they did. A hard task was made easy by a can-do approach. We all pulled together and we got everything done, and done without any drama. And everyone had just a great time with a shared love of the great outdoors and four-wheel driving in a spirit of harmony and friendship. It was just the most magnificent feeling. And from being involved in the organisation, it was very heartwarming to see how successful it was and what a wonderful weekend it was. And I'd just like to wish the club and all club members all the best for the 50th anniversary year.
Now, as a result, a direct result of the 50th, some of you would have noticed on the Saturday that I was missing, and that's because I was on a drive with a couple of sponsors. During the course of that day, the Toyota representative got talking to us about doing some more work with the Land Cruiser Club. Now, you cast your mind back previously, they were going to launch the 300 at the property, and then, of course, COVID hit. So that didn't happen anyway. But they subsequently brought some of their team up and ran around the track for, I think it was 1 or 2 days, hide the property from us. So they've come to us again. Now they're looking to run something similar. They've made a couple of different proposals, and it's with their product development team this time. So I was having a speak with their Toyota representative, and he said, well, what do you guys want on your vehicles? And we went through things like, well, tyres, GVM upgrades, and they're looking to partner with third-party suppliers. So they're looking to put together packages like that you can actually buy from the dealership, maybe a air filter, oil, aftermarket air filter to deal with dusty conditions, snorkels, tyres more suited to off-road, directly from when you pick up the vehicle. You don't have to get rid of those more road orientated tyres, and you can go straight to a decent Toyo AT, for instance. Okay, I've got to get in the names of the sponsors, of course. So what we're looking for is an indication from the membership, if as a club, because you got to remember this club, this property, everything is owned by the membership. Okay, so now we need to go to the membership and get an indication from the membership whether we should be going ahead, whether we should be looking at it. Look, personally, I think, well, I mean, it's Toyota, right? We are the Toyota Land Cruiser Club. We've previously done it. It worked extremely well. So now we've set up a poll for the Zoom participants. Okay, so just as a quick reminder, so it's an in-principle support for the Toyota event to be held at the Club Yark property. Okay, so those in agreement, can you please raise your hands? And those against? I don't even need to count to 5 of that one. Are there anyone's abstaining for any particular reason?
You vote.
Yeah, I support it 120%, mate. I think it's a great opportunity. And of course, we've got one abstaining. Okay, thank you. So now, how do we go on Zoom? Are we able to put that up on the screen for everyone else to see in the room? There we go. So we got 14 for and 0 against. All right, thank you all for your indication tonight. So it looks like we have an in-principle agreement. All right, thank you all for your attention tonight, and a big round of applause for the Dobbinsons guys turning up. Thank you very much. Thank you all, and I hope to see you out there for a cup of tea or coffee.